Cancer is a challenging experience for adults, adolescents, and children, as well as their families and friends. During its course, the patients will experience a variety of physical and psycho-emotional symptoms. These will have to be addressed by a team of healthcare professionals specially trained in palliative care. For palliative care to be most effective, patients need to participate actively and communicate their personal needs as they arise. This is where MyPal comes into play. MyPal project provides a digital health platform that makes use of modern digital technologies and methods to support patients with cancer, their carers, and physicians. It aims to facilitate patients to record and communicate their symptoms, but also to improve their knowledge about their disease. But let's see how MyPal actually works. This is Dr. Salman. Dr. Salman is a medical doctor specialized in hematology. She has been working with chronic lymphocytic leukemia adult patients and adolescents with hematologic malignancies for over 20 years. She is a member of the MyPal team in her clinical site, recruiting patients that might be benefited from the MyPal intervention. Now let's meet our patients. This is Mr. Leonard. Mr. Leonard is a 57-year-old English teacher that has been diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or CLL, and is currently in a refractory stage undergoing treatment. And this is Miss Joy and her son Oliver. Oliver is a 14-year-old adolescent boy that has been diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, or ALL, and has already undergone one chemotherapy cycle. Miss Joy is a 48-year-old librarian and the mother of Oliver. Mr. Leonard and Oliver are Dr. Salman's patients, and since they meet the inclusion criteria, they are potential candidates for the MyPal Adult and MyPal Child and Adolescent study, respectively. Before Dr. Salman enrolls her patients to the corresponding MyPal study, she explains the potential benefits of eHealth interventions and describes the MyPal intervention to her patients and their carers. Dr. Salman also explains how electronic patient reporting outcomes, also known as ePROs, could significantly increase information provided to the doctor and therefore improve the treatment offered to the patients. Since Mr. Leonard and both Miss Joy and Oliver agreed to join MyPal, Dr. Salman must first create accounts for them. That way, they will be able to log onto their corresponding MyPal application and for Dr. Salman to track their progress. First, she registers her patients as new users of the MyPal platform like this. This is the administration panel where every MyPal user profile is created for both patient and healthcare professional users. Dr. Salman first creates a username and a password so the patient can later log in to the corresponding MyPal subsystem. She also notes down a baseline status for her patient. This involves entering some health-related information like the diagnosis, disease status, and treatment status. Mr. Leonard will be assigned to either the intervention or control group of the study. You see, the MyPal Adult study is being tested in a randomized clinical trial setting. That means, based on the group assignment, the participants have different tasks to accomplish. In the case of the control group, the participants offer their experience with their disease through ePROs during their routine monthly visits via a web application. That way, they provide an assessment on their disease status without using the MyPal platform. These data will be compared with the ones provided by the so-called intervention group, namely the patients who use the MyPal for adults' mobile applications, which enables the communication of disease-related information to their doctor. As a result, the impact of ePROs in palliative care scenarios can actually be evaluated. And look at that! Mr. Leonard is assigned to the intervention group. That means that he will receive the MyPal application for his smartphone and a smartwatch to keep track of his physical activity, along with the login credentials. Miss Joy and Oliver, on the other hand, are not assigned to a control or an intervention group, since the MyPal Child and Adolescent study is an observational feasibility study. This means that all participants are treated the same. So they receive the AquaScouts app for little Oliver and the MyPal Carer app for Miss Joy. With the help of Dr. Salman, the patients download, install, and open the application in their smartphone device. They enter their credentials and log in to their corresponding MyPal system. Since this is the first time our patients log into the system, some initial steps must be performed so that MyPal can collect initial data and create a baseline for each patient. In Mr. Leonard's app, the initial preference settings and the initial baseline questionnaires and surveys are presented in sequential order. We'll take a closer look to these questionnaires later. For now, these baseline questionnaires serve as a means to get an initial view of Mr. Leonard's current status and a more targeted care to his needs. Once he completes the last questionnaire in the registration sequence, the application prompts him to connect his smartwatch with his MyPal for Adults app. Once this is done, the registration process is completed and Mr. Leonard is redirected to the application's home screen. Miss Joy and Oliver also have to go through a registration process, with Miss Joy completing the initial baseline questionnaires about their quality of life and satisfaction with care, so as to assess their status before they enter the study. Oliver, on the other hand, is experiencing the in-app AquaScouts tutorial that walks him through the game and all the app's features. Everything is ready. Mr. Leonard and both Miss Joy and Oliver are ready to join the MyPal journey. Oliver already got to try the AquaScouts game while Dr. Salmon was helping his mom with the baseline questionnaires. He has started playing the game the minute the tutorial ended. Let's take a closer look. AquaScouts is a runner mobile game set in an underwater world. Oliver has access to the gaming sessions in the Hatch module. The goal of the game is to avoid all obstacles, to collect as many tokens as possible to get higher scores, and ultimately to reach and acquire the prize at the end. During the run, questions appear in the form of animated wandering parasites, where by selecting the appropriate answer, the parasites are eliminated and the run can proceed. At the end of each run, a much bigger parasite is encountered, which, with the help of the other scouts, is destroyed and drops artifacts that are collected. Notifications are also in place to help Oliver's engagement with the app. Looking at the main menu again, the holodeck presents all collections of fragments Oliver had collected per artifact, or the whole artifact itself. In the gear room, the avatar can be customized according to Oliver's wishes. He can choose any avatar features he wants, including the name with more options becoming available as the game progresses. Moreover, Oliver can modify various game options like the game speed or the sound volume. In the Medbay module, Oliver can complete questionnaires outside of the actual gameplay regarding his symptoms and his quality of life, which he can fill in at any time he feels like it. Every questionnaire follows the same process. Select the appropriate answer to a question by tapping it, and press the arrow button to proceed until every question has been answered and the questionnaire submitted. In the Quarters module, Oliver can note current symptoms in his diary functionality and share it with his clinicians or keep it to himself. He can view other players' progress in the Friends menu and can watch his current game achievements in the Achievements section. And the Lounge module, where he can view the overall game high scores. Now moving on to the Carer app, Miss Joy uses the Carer app to complete questionnaires regarding the quality of life or satisfaction of care during hospitalization. Also to report symptoms on behalf of her son, functioning as a proxy where every questionnaire follows the same idea as in the AquaScouts application. In case she is busy and forgets, notifications will notify her to submit a questionnaire. The Technical Support feature button is also available for the Carer app, as in every MyPal platform, along with some helpful links regarding support with adolescents and children with cancer. One last thing about the Carer app is that it has been designed to allow access to healthcare professionals as well. Dr. Salmon can use the Carer app to log in and report symptoms as a proxy by choosing the patient in interest. By using their respective apps, both Miss Joy and Oliver provide valuable information via the MyPal platform and the completion of ePROs to Dr. Salmon, which we'll see shortly. Now let's go back to our adult patient, Mr. Leonard. Mr. Leonard has access to all MyPal features tailored to his needs. Let's take a closer look. The main functionalities of the MyPal for Adults application can be summarized as following: display of data collected via Fitbit wearable device, completing a questionnaire, setting drug reminder notifications to facilitate adherence, reporting symptoms in a spontaneous fashion, and display of symptom reporting history. And finally, using the MyPal education material search engine, aiming to support patient self-education, having self-management as an ultimate goal. Starting at the top of the screen, Mr. Leonard gets a view of questionnaires that are scheduled and currently pending in a list view. In case there are not any active questionnaires, the list is empty. To further aid Mr. Leonard, questionnaires have a dedicated module of their own. In the questionnaire module, Mr. Leonard can get a more detailed view of the questionnaires presently pending and the ones he has so far interacted with. They are grouped based on their status, whether they are still active or completed, or based on the specific kind of questionnaire, like a questionnaire on symptoms, quality of life, pain, psycho-emotional effects, and more. The patient can either tap on an already submitted questionnaire to view his answers or initiate, if we are in an active status period, a new entry of a pending questionnaire. Also, appropriate notifications remind Mr. Leonard of any active or pending questionnaires. All he has to do is tap on the notification, and he is redirected to the questionnaires. Every questionnaire follows the same process. Either slide the slider of each question to the appropriate answer and press Next or skip the question altogether. At the end of each questionnaire, there is a summary of which questions have been answered and which are remaining, in case something was missed. If everything is in order according to Mr. Leonard's preferences, the questionnaire can be submitted. Furthermore, the MyPal mobile app enables spontaneous symptom reporting in case of an adverse event, where by entering the appropriate information and even attaching a photo of the problem, Mr. Leonard can instantly communicate the reported symptom to his healthcare professional. Right beside is the history of all spontaneous symptoms Mr. Leonard has ever reported. He can navigate through them and check any details of his previously reported symptoms. MyPal also includes a personalized motivational message delivery system to promote patient empowerment and app engagement, as well as a couple of supportive modules. Complementary to that, the Fitbit module presents the patient's activity and sleep data. Similarly, the drug reminders provide an aggregated view of Mr. Leonard's medication, along with the ability to set reminders for them. Lastly, there is the MyPal search engine module, with the sole purpose to provide Mr. Leonard access to validated information and appropriate educational content curated by Dr. Salmon and her colleagues. All he has to do is simply enter a keyword, tap on the Submit button, and browse through the search's results. Having covered the MyPal subsystems the patients use, let's go back to Dr. Salmon to actually see where all this information the patients submit via ePROs go. At the beginning, Dr. Salmon used the same administration panel of MyPal to create new patient users for both adults and adolescent patients and their carers. Besides the administration panel, Dr. Salmon has also access to the two MyPal web applications for healthcare professionals, the Healthcare Professional web app for adult patients and the Healthcare Professional web app for adolescents and children patients. Both Healthcare Professional web apps share some functionalities like the aggregated dashboard and the tutorial page, where the user manual of the web app is located. As you might have noticed, there is present in every page the tech support button, where Dr. Salmon can request help with the application. There she can report any bugs, request help, or just leave some feedback. Available from the side menu is also the link to the admin panel, where administrative actions can be performed. In order to get an overview of the MyPal study outcomes for research purposes, she can use the aggregated dashboard functionality in order to see the current status of the already registered patients in the MyPal adult study. Dr. Salmon can view the aggregated data of all patients. She is able to get a good view of the commonly reported answers to the questionnaires and get a better overall view of the patient's common features and differences. But that's not all. MyPal offers filtering functionalities by clicking right on the graphs. So, let's say, having Mr. Leonard in mind and his high distress reporting, Dr. Salmon wants to inspect the number of patients that report in the so-called Brief Pain Inventory, or BPI questionnaire, high values of distress. She can explore the provided analytics using specific criteria, for example, patient's age and ePRO reported values. Depending on the study, either the adult or child and adolescent study of MyPal, certain functionalities are offered. As a doctor, Dr. Salmon can unobtrusively track her patient's status in real time. By navigating at the individual patient page, all the data regarding that particular patient are presented. Let's see first the healthcare professional web app for adolescents and children patients. At a first glance, Dr. Salmon gets a view of the actions available to her. By scrolling down, there is a graphical representation of the questionnaire answers, followed by a graphical representation of symptoms reported by the healthcare professional. The graphs are interactive, and Dr. Salmon can choose the granularity of the reports. Further down, there is the response log history, which shows the history of one of the three functionalities this individual dashboard page hosts. The response log is a way to log in the system any disease-related actions on an adverse event. The treatment plan is a way to log any existing treatment plan for the specific patient that needs to be included in the graphs. The healthcare professional symptom report gives Dr. Salmon the opportunity to report any serious symptoms the patient experiences and view them in the graphical representation for further analysis. Of course, this page exists for every patient under Dr. Salmon's care. She just has to choose the appropriate patient and the information will be displayed. Since both healthcare professional web applications have similar needs, most of the functionalities described and the overall look is shared with the MyPal Adult Healthcare Professional web app. Each time Dr. Salmon logs into the MyPal Adult Healthcare Professional web app, she gets a notification update about any new questionnaire entries made by her patients. She can click on the alias name of the patient of interest to check out his or her progress in the individual patient page, where all the data regarding that particular patient are presented, as in the Adolescent and Child Healthcare Professional web app. At a first glance, Dr. Salmon can get a quick view of the patient's step and sleep data, along with some brief disease-related info and the available actions of the page as well. As she's scrolling down, she can view a graphical representation of the questionnaire answers, like in the Adolescent and Child Healthcare Professional web app, and a more detailed presentation of the sleep and step data. Further down along with the adult study response log history, there is a symptom history of the spontaneous reported symptoms by the patients. The Adult Healthcare Professional web app also includes a treatment plan functionality to log, if any existing treatment plan to be included in the views of the graphs. There is also the Schedule Appointment functionality, which is also used by the patient's mobile app to deliver notifications at an optimal time. In the Healthcare Professional web app, it is logged and included in the views of the graphs to help with the tracking of the individual patient's progress. One of the main functionalities that MyPal offers is a dedicated search engine to disease-related material, proofed by the MyPal clinicians. This information is entered to the MyPal system in the Upload a Document page, where by simply providing the appropriate link and a couple of basic information, she can upload any article she deems worthy. 1 month later, Mr. Leonard and Dr. Salmon have a routine appointment where she can get an update on his progression and address any concerns that Mr. Leonard might have. To this end, the MyPal web portal for healthcare professionals also offers assistance during the actual appointment with the patient related to any non-adherence events regarding medication. First, by navigating to the discussion tool page, Dr. Salmon enters Mr. Leonard's ID. Then an overview of his answers in the last questionnaire regarding the medication non-adherence is presented to Dr. Salmon. In case the last aforementioned questionnaire submission date is too old, there is always the option given to Dr. Salmon of starting a new one to get more up-to-date answers. Next step is asking the patient if he has missed any medication doses, and based on the answer, suggestions are made available to Dr. Salmon in order to address whatever she deems important to discuss during the current appointment. The discussion tool simply guides Dr. Salmon through her conversation with Mr. Leonard. Following the routine procedures of the appointment, and after Mr. Leonard has gone home, MyPal offers Dr. Salmon the ability to provide data which could indicate the intervention's cost-effectiveness via the respective case report form. MyPal platform facilitates palliative care and supports the use of patient data for research purposes. Information provided by the patients is stored, analyzed, and presented to the doctors in a simple record view and in graphical representation, aiming to actively investigate the use of the paradigm of ePROs via mobile devices to support patients with cancer as a whole. The presented technical solution built for the MyPal project aims to support the use of ePROs paradigm in the context of palliative care, supporting adults, adolescents, and children affected by cancer or other diseases, with the scope of improving their everyday life.